About the mushrooms.
Well, so the mushrooms that we grow, they're all grown indoors.
Okay.
You can grow them outside, especially with, once you have spent substrate, you can actually plant them in your garden. So there's sort of a whole upcycling, right? It's not upcycling, but you're recycling the blocks of mushrooms to be able to continue the process under their own kind of direction, which is nice. But mushrooms start out as a spore or as a liquid culture. So you have mycelium basically growing in a jar or on a petri dish on an agar. And it's all about just expanding the volume of mycelium to a point where it's enough that it can feed on substrate and produce mushrooms. So you start off with a small amount of mycelium, you inoculate some grain, whether that's oats or rye berries, and those berries or that grain has to be sterilized in a pressure cooker because you have to eliminate all other microbial competition, which is very different from plants, where you can put seeds into the soil and they grow in conjunction with all the microbes that are in the soil and so forth. With mushrooms, you're dealing with microbes, so you have to do it under very controlled environmental conditions. So you sterilize grain, you inoculate it with mycelium, whether or not that's from a petri dish or liquid culture. It grows out, and then you take that and you distribute that amongst your production cycle, which is for most of the mushrooms that we grow, it's hardwood-loving species like lion's mane.
So are you growing this for sale or for your own self?
Well, it's so far it's been for my own self and my own self-interest, just because it's a fascinating process of growing mushrooms, and mushrooms are fantastic, and there's so much to discover whether or not there are different strains, growing practices, especially in the West, where cultivating mushrooms is just not widely done. I mean, all the industry is over in China and Japan. That's where all the Yuki, come. That's where all the technology is. So what we do is it seems kind of primitive and wasteful in a sense because we grow the mushrooms out of polyethylene bags. They have a filter patch on them to allow for air exchange because the mycelium and the mushrooms they need certain climatic conditions. They need high humidity, a reasonable temperature range, not too hot, not too cold, but generally speaking between like 50 degrees Fahrenheit and you could say 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that's a bit hot.
Is your goal the thought process here like you're gonna sell them?
Well, you could sell them to farmers markets or to chefs, and that's interesting. It's a nice sort of way to get into the community. It's fun, but my business plan is mostly to grow the medicinal side of the mushrooms and to make extracts out of those, and to sell them as health supplements for people to take. Whether or not they're generally speaking, it's for your immune system.
Yeah.
Mostly. There are some specialty ones like lion's mane, which has some research that indicates that it might be good for staving off dementia. Other ones like reishi, very good for your immune system. Turkey tail has been well researched, anti-tumor even. So they're just very good at regulating the immune system and getting it to do what it's supposed to do.
We should just be like eating real food,
So the idea of the extracts, instead of having to buy mushrooms, which are very nice to eat. I mean, some people don't like to eat mushrooms, although these mushrooms are generally delicious, speaking like lion's mane. Although some people don't like the texture of it, it's kind of like a seafood.
I'm that guy.
You don't like it? My dad doesn't like it either.
I need them cooked in a way.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like
they can be a bit wet.
I like them with steak. That's really where I'm eating them. Is I'm eating them with steak and just frying them up on the side.
On butter, yeah.
And yeah, steak and butter, and then I have this like chai blossom vinegar. So your thought is, so you're gonna the high-end medicinal ones.
Yes. Yeah. There's about 5 major species that we're going to be either growing or cultivating, whether or not it's foraging or actually growing them. Starting off with lion's mane, it's an easy one to grow. It's a quick turnaround.
What about like inoculating like their forest?
I think you gotta be careful with that. I mean, you can definitely inoculate logs and for growing mushrooms yourselves and do that in forest. Whether or not you're just going out into wild spaces and inoculating it with different types of fungus, you gotta be careful making sure that they're just native species. If you're if you find a lion's mane in the woods nearby, you cultivate it. That's a lot different than growing like a pink oyster mushroom, which is sort of like a more of a tropical loving species.
More than a what?
Want a tropical loving species. It's a pink oyster. It's very
so
very
it'd be
pretty.
less successful.
It would be, but you don't want to necessarily be introducing non-native organisms to the area. You don't really. It's not very good conservation practice, I would say. But a lot of them do grow. I mean, you can find different types of reishi mushrooms. That's one of the ones that we're going to be growing. Turkey tail. Sort of tried growing it. It takes a little while, and it's also just very prolific. It's one of the most common mushrooms that we find. So that's just more easy to go out and wild harvest that.
So do you forage currently?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing today. Going out looking for morels. It's morel season.
Morel season, okay. I'm at the Denville Farmers Market on Sundays with Forage Feast, and they forage for all kinds of mushrooms. And that's my mushroom plug, as they would say. And that's most of where I get my stuff, and it's been great because they have some of what I would see what I would call like what I call the best mushrooms that I see on the market now. So lots of chefs and things like that, people that are trying to pay attention, and but also like you foraging. Like a lot of people that follow this page, people that come to me, they are interested in bees and beekeeping, and they're interested in coming out for a day, coming out for a nature walk. I would love this. I would love to be invited on a walk to be like the bird guy.
You got some smoke?
Yep.
Stuck in the hair.
That is why I have short hair.
Yeah.
I had pretty decently long hair. I was on a path of just being that long.
Growing it out.
And I
don't think they mean to get stuck, but they do. When they can't get out, and they panic and they sting.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so like the nature walkers would go bananas. They would love that.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I'd be able to sell 10 freaking spots for you. Through this video. There's 10 people watching this video right now that was saying, yo, this kid needs to do it.
Yeah, well, I'm looking for a new location, so maybe out in PA.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. And you know, I just made a video saying like, what is your thing? Fuck you. You know, like maybe you can recycle. Great. It's gonna go to landfill anyway. And like
actually goes to the ocean. Throw most plastics out. It's the end of the ocean.
yeah, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And it's like the only thing that we can do though that would matter is like resilience is the thing. Like knowing your farmer, knowing the guy that grows it, knowing the guy that grows it. And little things like that. So,
well, I think a lot of it is about connecting a little bit more to landscape. It's just, foraging is a really nice thing for that too. As long as you do it in a way that it's not too invasive on the landscape. When I was in England, backpacking West Highland Way in Scotland, came across these English people who all lived in New Forest, which is southern England, nice wooded area, and they were saying how they were out foraging and they were getting stopped by the police because at the time it was illegal, although they just passed a law saying that people could forage, and they've been doing it since they were kids, going out foraging, say sustainably, picking some things, not over picking. But the problem is that they were telling me that some people would go out and they would just clear everything. They would take all of the mushrooms, no matter whether or not they're poisonous or what varieties, just not choosing specifically what they're taking. And that's not a good way to do it.
It's not even just not a good way to do it, but like
it's also just inefficient.
It's stupid.
It is stupid.
But
that's the kind of problem. You get people like that going out there and then they just rape the landscape kind of thing, So people don't do that and they do it in a way that's a bit more caring to the landscape. Then it's a great way to get people to care about and have that kind of shift in their perception about what they do.
Now I had this idea for New Jersey about foraging in New Jersey. In my opinion, there should be a kind of a permit situation.
Oh, really?
So like I'm permitting. This is my idea.
That sounds like a military.
I know Trump's in town.
Is he?
Yeah, so he's in New York for the trial.
Oh, right. Oh, that's probably still going on though.
Well, that's like the... Dude, as soon as he set themselves on fucking fire.
Oh, yeah, I
Like-
heard about that. I don't know what that was in protest of, though.
I don't know, yeah, what side was he on?
Yeah, exactly. Was he defending Trump or is he a hardcore Trump supporter?
Yeah, like what is... Exactly, like what is he doing?
Which is very, very extreme. Jesus.
Well, yeah, that's, well, so, in New Jersey, I don't know the law, but it would be really cool if there was a license passed that would allow you to forage for certain things at certain times. So, like, it's morel season.
Yeah.
So right now, you might not be able to, like there would be a bag limit on your morels. And maybe only starting opening the season for morels just after it's been open for a little while. Score a little bit. And then you can open the season somewhere else. And those individuals that you have to like, you take a forager safety course, and then you need to take a hunter safety course.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would have qualms about that. Because I mean, what about the poor guy that just wants to go out looking one day, doesn't have to worry about, oh, I don't have the right permits.
Well, then
maybe if it's over a certain quantity taken or something. I mean,
like a fishing permit. Like
that's exactly what I was thinking. But even that, I mean, it gets terribly complicated. Because there's just from what I've, I guess, watched from documentaries, there's different quotas that fishermen are allowed to pull in, and you can trade and sell those quotas. Then you kind of end up having the big guys still getting all the fish in.
Back up. Yeah. This one's not happy.
How can you tell?
They didn't respond too well to the smoke.
Do you need it? Oh, you got it. Good.
It's the difference between a and a
Now all these nukes, they're not for just this place, right? Got other.
I have just places.
Yeah. So that's a lot of boxes.
That's why. Oi! So you're in the infant stages of the mushroom business. Come here. Hey, you.
Friday, and hey, Yuki, come here. Well, I've got the growing pat down. And there's work on legal side, website, business structure. Main thing is just to find the location that doesn't feel right.
That's one of the things for sure. I'm trying to move my business somewhere. And where is it? Is it in New Jersey? I'd love to be in New Jersey, but can New Jersey market for honey be here? Like it, I kind of get the sense that sometimes people want cheap instead of real local honey, but then they say they want real local honey, but then don't mind someone that says it's real local honey.
Well, I thought New Jersey would be It's the ones that wealthy people. I suppose.
Yeah, so like this is the bees. This is their bees. It's their honey. I'm the beekeeper. Higher basis.
Yeah, it's a service.
We already did that.
We did, but looking at their food, looks like you need to switch to a different farm right now. Their food is supposed to be like little pellets, you know? It looks like they're in the room here. No, where it's come back up.
So that's a sign that they're worms.
Yeah. Well, especially since they were wormed a couple weeks ago, and they're showing signs of having worms, that means the efficacy of the wormers worn off. So then you have to switch to one that has a different spectrum. So they've been on, it's called cycloplex or something. Now I need to go to Michael or whatever. It's a different spectrum wormer.
Just to knock the worms down in a very become resistant. Like the worm, you don't want a worm to become resistant to one of your tools.
Well, these are resistant